Welcome to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, where we mix business, law of attraction, spirituality, and well-being with great guests and phenomenal stories. You'll hear hints, tips, and up-to-the-minute information on digital communication from an expert in her field. Pearl has some wonderful individuals in her networks, and she will be interviewing them all at some point in the future. Enjoy your listening.
Well, hello and welcome to another of the Pearls of Wisdom podcast interviews. And this one, again, is part of the mini-series all about Mission Hope. And I have the wonderful author that I'm interviewing today, and I'm speaking to Hope. Now, Hope, would you like to introduce yourself so the audience know all about you, please?
Hi, and thank you so much, Pearl, for that introduction. I am professionally known as Dr. Hope Blecher Croney. I hold various teaching degrees, certifications, and I have been in education for 40 years. That is my profession. Personally, I am a mom, a daughter, a wife, and some other, all those other things. I am tapping more into my art side and my writing side. I like to use it as a verb, so I say arting and authoring, and how those blend in a person's life, in my life, and going along with the purpose of the interview today, that writing and artistry and exploring that way is where I find my joy.
Oh, that is wonderful. It's wonderful. We've got two like minds today because my degree is in English. I love the written word. I love linguistics and everything you said. I'm thinking, yes, yes, yes. So this is going to be one brilliant interview.
There you go. I will make it brilliant. I will try to make it brilliant for you.
You will make it brilliant. We've already set the tone, and that's how it's going to start, and that's how it will finish. So I'm good with that. From what you've said, yes, we're talking about Mission Hope and the whole idea of the writing process and the way you use the verbs. How do you approach your writing when Char comes to you and says, right, this is what we're going to write about? How do you approach writing that chapter, putting your offering to paper?
So it's interesting you asked that, Pearl, because initially when Char asked me, it was we met on a 360 Nation friendship bench and met virtually. And she said, I'm doing this Mission Hope. Your name is Hope. Join us. We talked a little bit. And the first one that she invited me to be part of was love. I had to tell her that was a topic I didn't think I could approach. I'm divorced. Yes, I remarried, but I didn't feel the hallmark, the romance of, oh, Hope writes about love. So I said, I'm not sure really that I'm the person, maybe for another one. And Char's a taskmaster. Give it a little time, Hope, think about it. You can do this. So she's a combination taskmaster, cheerleader.
Yeah.
And after a little bit, it was a time when I thought about where I was in my life, that I had gotten remarried, the theme of love, how I saw it in my parents. My dad had gotten sick and was in a nursing home. And I will say my parents had an up and down relationship. They stayed married for, over 50 years. I remember throwing them a surprise 50th anniversary party. And I saw how much my mom and dad, there was that bond. And I thought, okay, I can do this. I can do it based on them, not on me. Yeah. So that's how the one for love came about. And I wrote it after a series of Post-it notes, sticky notes,
yep.
ideas. And then one day, okay, I'm blasting this out. Don't talk to me. Don't call. I tuned out everything, typed it out. And I didn't let anybody read it, because I wanted it to just look to Char to see, is this really what you're looking for? Because ultimately it's her decision.
Yeah.
And she called me and we had a very nice conversation. That was the beginning, Pearl. The next one was grace and gratitude. My mom was in the hospital. She called, will you do it? Will you do it? Char, take me off the list. I'm sitting in a hospital talking to you with my laptop, my cell phone, trying to be really quiet. And again, she reached out to me, just think about it. How do the word, and at the time, I don't know that I felt so much gratitude because of a hospital situation, my mother being very sick. But simultaneously, I was working on a project, Survivors of the Holocaust. And I was listening to these people, Pearl, talk about what they had gone through. And there are two people in particular that just had such grace telling their stories, sharing their experiences. They came across not being angry, not being bitter outwardly. There were little bits of it, but overall, they were so grateful to be alive and to have gotten married and had children and to be able to go out every day, see the sunshine. And then that was how I enveloped the theme for that chapter.
Yeah.
Was not me feeling so much grace and gratitude. It was how other people enveloped me with their grace and gratitude. So, and then the approach for joy, I wrote as a poem. So each of my entries has been very different. And when Char asks you to join, or for me, at least the experience was very open. For some people, I know that's too much. Give me the guidelines, give me the structure. She was however you relate to the theme. So there was a lot of freedom. I remember telling Char, no one associates hope and joy. I'm the more designated driver kind of person, the very not strict so much as careful, very so when she said to Joy, I said, that's not a word people associate with me. And we kind of laughed, and she said, but you're laughing, something makes you joyful. And we had a lot of snow this winter. I was outside one day, just laid in the snow, made a snow angel. And I said, I can write this now.
Oh, perfect.
So that's how it comes about for me. It's not sit at a desk 2 hours a day, pump it out.
Yeah. I think, I mean, like we know, all authors will approach the art of writing differently. But when you're writing about a feeling, an emotion, because most of these describing words are an emotion and how you feel them, I don't think you can write rigidly. Sometimes you need to go and experience that emotion before you can write it. And sometimes it will be the negative of that emotion that gets you to see the positive that you need to write about, that you're being called to share as your message. And it's I just love these sort of things because it is you half the time I wander around. I'll make sure I go for a walk every day in nature. I mean, where I am, I'm not that close to nature. I can't walk through a forest or something, but I can walk on a country lane and it's quieter and I can be with my thoughts and I can connect with my higher self or whatever it is I need to learn to. And that's where I do my thinking. And then I'll always have my phone with me and I might record a memo because there's no one listening so I don't look like I'm weird. And so I'll do that or I'll come back and I just start to write. And it is, I think we all experience things differently. And when you talk about where you were experiencing the characters from the Holocaust, the way you were listening and seeing what they've been through, sometimes that's the emotion you feel. You can have all the sadness and then when they have the good outcome at the end you experience the joy with them, and that's again it's another way of seeing that and reflecting on it.
And I'm very fortunate that the two, that's our grandfather. I'm very fortunate that the two survivors are still, with us. I will be seeing them in a week. They will be speaking to our middle school students for a lesson about the Holocaust. And we've been doing that for 3 years. One of the women is in her early 90s. The other one is about 7 years younger. That I was able to give them a copy of the book when it
Oh,
came
wow.
out because I was not allowed to name them. Char is very specific about what the rules are of publishing for her, for this series with her and Motivation Champs. So I couldn't name them, but they knew who they were. It was very clear to me and to them. So it was very nice to be able to share it. And one of the women called me up and she said, I can't believe that you wrote about me and, thanking me. And I really feel I'm 30 years younger. I did not, there but for the grace of God, go through what you went through. And it was just so touching that she thanked me. And here I am, writing this in a way that look what you survived and how you are graceful, you are thankful. So to me, when I hung up the phone, was really a dichotomy that she gave so much of her life in various ways and lost parts of her life. And they both did. So when it really is touching that they called me to thank me separately, they didn't know each other, had reached out to me for recognizing something special in them.
But you see, with that, I see two fantastic souls. But the
Yes.
fact that they both do that, that just reflects how special they are. And the fact that they can find gratitude, that they can find that joy in something else where they've
Yes.
they've experienced, like we're saying, experienced the opposite emotion, yet they can find those golden nuggets in so many different areas. And well, before we started, we said about the grandfather clock. Did I not say to you that if it goes off, it will be a really poignant piece? And when did it go off? Exactly when you were sharing this wonderful pearls of wisdom. So it's special. See, these things happen for a reason.
Thank you. Thank you. And they, I look forward to seeing the women. I look forward to seeing, I know their story, so I stand in the back so that I don't influence the students with a facial reaction or a response. The students really are engaged. There is something about the way these two women share their stories that makes you realize when you're in the room with them that they are people. These are ordinary people that survived extraordinary times, and they want to be just looked at as I am Marlene, I am Ava, and that what they experience is part of their lives, yet they were able to find joy in other things. One of them, lives, it used to be a functioning dairy farm. Her husband was a sculptor. There is a joy when you step onto her property. There's nature. You can see some of his sculpture. She invites you in for a cup of tea and a slice of cake. And it's just like, wow, so humbling. And when you meet the other person, her story, she's there, her partner is still alive, and they just share a different smile. They envelop you with, come be part of my life, come be my friend. And I know it's a topic that can be very heart-wrenching. When you're in their presence, it becomes heartwarming.
But that is, again, that is so, so special. And to have
It
that,
is very special.
yeah, it's going to be every listener to this interview, they are going to be touched by that. And you see that, I know my sister and her husband recently, they visited Auschwitz, and they said the difference. I mean, my dad's been there. I mean, but my dad was in the army earlier, but he didn't fight in any of the First or Second World Wars. He said there's certain places there's no birds. Birds still don't sing there. And to go there, yes, the way my sister was walked through and they were given the tour, it the feeling, there are certain places in this world that when something bad has happened, it's like you can't cleanse the earth. But the people that come from it that have survived it,
Yes.
they bring the joy. And like you say, to be round these people that have experienced that, they have a serene emotion. It's almost like their aura expands and covers
Yes.
everyone. And that's where they share their joy, because when you've been through that, almost everything you experience afterwards is joy, because it's thankful and gratitude, isn't it?
And one of the projects that I became involved in is called the Daffodil Project. So it's a worldwide project to plant 1.5 million daffodils in commemoration of the children who perished in the Holocaust. And the symbol is a yellow daffodil. For when it opens, it looks like a six-pointed star.
Oh, wow.
And so you plant it each in commemoration of someone who perished, but every year they bloom and it's a sign of life and it's a sign of, warmth. And so the project co-founders picked this flower for, specific reasons. So I've become involved in planting them. And this year in the fall, where I am in the fall of 2025, September and October, we are going to plant two different gardens. Each garden will have 3,000 daffodil bulbs planted. So this will be my fourth time doing this garden. The joy that comes from people gathering from the ages of 5 to 85 and digging in the dirt, and they've never met each other, most of them. And they are just there, and they fling the dirt, they make their hands get dirty. We have, something to coffee or tea or juice, and the camaraderie that comes out of that although the event is planned, there is a spontaneity to who shows up and comes and engages. Some people come, they don't plant, they come to say hi. What is this for? They happen to be walking by. I didn't initially think it would be a project of joy. I see it as a project with grace and gratitude, going with the theme of the Mission Hope series, created out of love. So love was my first entree. This is my third one. So a love of people. The co-founders personally were impacted by the events of the Holocaust in their families. And just to see how me being involved in that project has almost ebbed and flowed with the themes. Until I'm speaking to you now, Pearl, I hadn't thought of that. There is a joy when we are doing that planting. And people have sent me photos of the different gardens as they pass by. Look how pretty, look at the yellow. Yes, another year the bulbs are coming up, and we're very enthusiastic about it. And at the end of the day, someone's like, it's a bulb, it's a flower. I said, but what we experience continues year to year to year. And one of the town supervisors texted me a message, and he said, Hope, I think I just interrupted a promposal in the daffodil garden. And it was just so special. And I said, like, they know why it's there. There's a sign. The fact that they chose to do this promposal, which is when you ask someone to a prom, in that location. They could have picked many other places in town. He said it was just such a heartwarming thing to see there, because who knew that that's what would happen? And I didn't think it was disrespectful at all. I thought it was such an act of joy.
Oh, it's just perfect. And one of my favorite words is synchronicity. And every interview I'm doing, there are synchronicities in it. And when you think today, where we are doing this interview here in the UK, it's VE Day, it's the Victory in Europe Day, and it's 80 years since the end of the war. So the fact that you said that, we've got a special thing in our Tower of London. They've done a special thing. It's all with ceramic poppies. And when we do Remembrance Sunday, we always have our poppies. And the fact that you're talking about the daffodils, I see so many similarities. And the fact that it's today that we're doing the interview, things happen for a reason. They don't.
Yes.
We've picked a date that worked for our schedule, but there were higher things at work to actually bring us together for today's interview, to have the impact on the words that were being shared.
And thank you for making that connection. Oh, ceramic daffodils. Maybe I'll have to work on that. Maybe I'll get some more art and creativity going there. So get in touch with some local artists and do some ceramic daffodils. It could be beautiful.
I mean, this is what they did. Because they've done it twice. I think they did it for the 75 years, and they filled the moat around the Tower of London with these ceramic daffodils, and everyone,
Oh, I'll have to
sorry,
look
with
that up.
ceramic poppies. And then
Poppies.
they bought that, and the money that they paid for each individual poppy went to charity. So it's a great way. So
Oh,
you get that an income from that, and then they've done it again. It's a slightly different display because I mean, we've only got about 3 or 4 veterans that have survived from the Second World War now, uh, and
right.
and they're late 90s and into their hundreds. I mean, we're lucky that they're surviving, because we can have generations now that won't won't know any of this.
And that was part of why I did the Voices of Survivors project, was to get it to capture the stories from the eyewitnesses. Because after that, it's their children, their grandchildren, and they have valid responses, reactions, but it's different than the eyewitness.
Yeah.
Different, and I've learned a lot more that I didn't know before. People said, what is my personal connection? Who did I lose in my family? It's not that aspect. It's the sharing of the story.
Yeah.
Let let's hear it from the people who experienced it, if we still can. Let's record it. Some of them are sharing poetry. Some of them are sharing artwork. We've had few people where it's not the survivor, it's the child of the survivor, and they're now for much in their 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
sharing stories. And some of them have said, I'm ready now to share. I wasn't growing up. And then we've had some grandchildren that have shared, each with stories, settings that might be different, but when they are in a room with each other, and that some of them have never met before, when I have these series, and then they start talking to each other, and I see them exchange phone numbers or take a selfie, sign each other's, cards for each other. I feel like they're making new connections that support them too.
And this, again, as you were explaining that, I had the idea come in about history. And before we had all the ways of recording it and paper to write the words into books, it was all by word of mouth where people would share. And then when we go back to how we remember, and we remember those that fought in the wars, when I buy a poppy, it always says underneath it, lest we forget. And that's what was going through my mind, where you're saying that the children and the different generations, they are reminding and keeping that memory alive, lest we forget. And it's the gratitude and it's the joy of what we've come through. And
Yes.
it is, and it's a form of history. It's a vocal telling of history. So it's reverting back to the way our ancestors would have recorded their histories.
And that's a beautiful way to say it. One of the things that runs throughout the exhibit. So this year, the iteration of the exhibit that I'm working on is called Honoring Survivors and Their Rescuers Through the Generations. My goal at the end of the exhibit, whenever that will be, when I'm told, Hope, pack it up, will be to have a birthday party for the survivors and their rescuers. I may do it sooner rather than later, some logistics, because listening to their stories, some of them missed out on playing with dolls. Some of them missed out on, digging in the sand for fun, singing with their friends because they had to be so quiet. So when I was listening to them, I thought, it's often so innocent to have a cupcake, have a cake, have some candles, blow them out, sing happy birthday. And they miss that. And that's really something I want to be able to share with them, invite them to a birthday party. That's for them. So they can just smile, celebrate, not worry about how much did it cost? What do I have to bring? Just come. So that is something that I hope to be able to bring to fruition with open doors. Come for a birthday party. We are celebrating you. And I've had a few of those survivors and some people who call themselves escapees, not survivors. They seem to have a different kind of self-imposed label of their experience. They have said, I never really celebrated my childhood. They went through it, but they didn't have a moment to celebrate. So I feel like in my way that is something I want to be able to provide for them.
Yeah. And where it's so telling when you say they use the word escape rather than survive, because so many people that feel that they've survived and their friends didn't, they feel guilty. Whereas the fact that they escaped, as I'm saying this, I've got tingles. So it just feels right. The fact that you escape, yes, yeah, and it gives it again, it's quite special. I think again, it feeds into all the words, the different emotions that go to make the whole series of Mission Hope. You're going through, you've got the grace, you've got the gratitude, and you can see the joy from coming from one side to the other. You can have that, and almost the faith and the understanding as to how you got there. And it is, and I think sometimes, I mean, I've used these words before, but I start to think of empathy and sympathy. So many people use the word sympathy, and I feel that's a token gesture. Maybe I'm not giving it enough of to what that word really means, but quite often I feel it's a throwaway line, and it's something that people feel they have to say. When you feel empathy, you actually feel what the other person is going through. You feel the emotion, and you can show that in the response you give, and you can have that feeling with them. You can escape with them, as opposed to having that sympathetic.
That's a beautiful way to, I hadn't thought of it like that. I just was very caught off guard when someone said, oh, why do you want me to speak? I'm not a survivor. And it was her husband who told me. So I said, your husband told me you know that there's a story to share and I should ask you. And she said, I just feel like we escaped. We didn't survive, so I don't know that it's a fit. And I actually will be speaking with her more to tease it out a little to see if she's comfortable. And she has said, I'll talk about my story. I just don't know that I have the same language. And I said, but your story is just as valid.
And also by saying that, again, you know, I said to you about like I did my degree in English on the linguistic side. So as soon as you said it's the language, that's where the empathy comes in, and how those emotions, when you truly listen to someone, you pick up on the words they use, and that emotion it's that sense of the words being used and the emotion you're picking up. That's what drives the conversation, and you can come away. And I think quite often there's times I've used words which I thought were the right words, and when you read the body language of the person that's listening to you, and you suddenly think, I didn't think this through, I've used the wrong words. And you need to acknowledge that. I'm the first to admit, if I've said something wrong, I will shout, well, I won't shout it from the rooftops, but I will take my mistake and I will own it. I mean,
Yes.
I had that on LinkedIn years ago now. I made a big mistake with a client, and it could have cost thousands. It could have been a massive lawsuit, but I put it right, and I shared it on LinkedIn because I thanked the people that I was connected to because they'd helped me. And I had 3 people write on the comments, LinkedIn is all about bigging yourself up. You're really brave to say that you made a mistake. And I said, I wanted to own it because then you heard it from me. I don't want something to be shared where, like Chinese whispers, it's elaborated and changed so that you don't know what had gone into it. I was looking after someone's website, and yes, I'm techie and I fully understood what I was doing, but the bit they wanted, I wasn't. Give me a front end of a website, content management system, I can build anything, but don't ask me to be a programmer and actually put all
Right.
back end.
Okay.
So I got someone else to look after the back end of the website, and 3 days later it completely fell down, and that we couldn't get it back up again. And that fell on me because I'd got the person in because I was asked to do it, and I'd outsourced to someone else because it wasn't my specialty. It's when I worked with central government and I had all the teams. I worked at a very high level, and I just reached out help, and I had 3 of the biggest teams working on like Cabinet Office, Ministry of Justice, our Department of Work and Pension, massive.
Wow, that is big. That's
wide. They got their web designers and they said, right, you've got 3 hours, go and work with Pearl and fix it. Now, there's not many people that would do that, and that's why I wanted to thank them, because they took their team, because they felt enough for my connection with them to help me put it right.
And that says a lot that they felt that you, Pearl, were a person. See, that
Yeah,
they treated you like a person. You weren't number one, two, three, four, five. You were a
yeah,
person to them. They that they respected, that they, hey, Pearl is here. Pearl needs our help. Can we do this? We'll make it fit because we want the outcome, not for necessarily their greater gain. Just we know Pearl. Pearl is a person. And if Pearl's reaching out to us, we will be Team Pearl.
exactly, and which is
And they
why
valued you.
and that meant so much.
Yes.
And when you, again, it's reflecting on the histories and how we approach things. And I had to go to these people that saw me, that I trained all of their C-suite directors, that they'd all learnt from me. And I'm saying, I've really messed up here. It's and they're saying, what? Something that Pearl doesn't know? And I said, yes, hard to believe. I said, but there is lots that I don't know.
But
And
you showed them a very humble side of yourself too by asking for help.
it is, and the person that done it, we're still friends and we still work together at times. And so it worked because I owned it. If I'd sort of backed off and said nothing to do with me, it's nothing, you've got to go and sort it out, that would have spread a completely different message because of the way I approached something, or the way I didn't own what I'd done. And again, going back to the people that you've spoken to and that you've used in your books, it's literally they've owned what they've been through. And the
Yes.
fact that they could share with you, and we go back to that word escape rather than survive, that connection you have with them, that they felt they could open up and share that with you, that is precious. That really is.
I appreciate you saying that because in my life, in my personal and professional career, there have been times when I have had people say, Hope, you need to walk one road. You do this, you do this, you do this. There's too much, Hope. And we don't know what to make of it. And how are you making sense of all this? And I have had two bosses in my career, unfortunately, no longer accessible, that they embraced it. They just said, we know if we ask you to do something, or if you come to us with something, Hope, you're going to make it happen. You are owning it. You are going to reach out to people. You will thank people. And other people want to just, Hope needs to be in a box. And that's a struggle if that's what you're going to do. And that's how you're going to treat me is, okay, we want Hope and we're going to size you down, is a very different than Hope, brainstorm, bring it all on, and I will filter out the pieces and figure it out. And I believe that we can bring this project to fruition. And I'm also going to be there with you. So it's like your sense of you didn't just throw them under the bus, hide away, say bye. I will be there with you. We will go through these ups and downs together, hopefully the ups, and bring this project to fruition. And I also never present anything, even if it's a plan, Pearl, it's never presented as the be all and end all. I always present saying, if we have to change it along the way, we will, because there's some reason happening. Something is happening that we have to change it along the way. And I very much enjoy listening to other people's ideas, or I'll take them into consideration. And some you'll see the pearl woven in and out of a project, and others maybe not. For example, I may now say, propose to the town, hey, next year, let's make ceramic daffodils and have them, and maybe have them for sale and start a project that way. Because now I know that something is done someplace else. And I feel that that's the way that we grow as ideas. As you said before, that's how storytelling evolves. Someone has an idea, they tell it again, but doing it for me as a way of sharing. I'm not stealing it.
Yeah.
I don't look at it that way. You're entrusting me, you're sharing, we have some connection. And I'll go back and say, is it okay that I do this? Do I have your permission? Can we make it our own? And for me, as speaking with Dennis a few days ago from Biz Catalyst and 360 Nation, I create with curiosity. I find a lot of pieces of information. I am an information hog. Just give me more, and then I'll filter it out. I don't start with the filter.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of little post-its, a lot of notes, and they're all over. And then, oh, use this, don't use this, blend these around. And I'm very tactile about it. Keyboarding, typing it is the last part for me. I need to literally move those notes into place or those ideas. And I think that's also something that Char has let us do is make it your own. Evolve it however it evolves from your experience, your life, your thoughts, and put it out there. Eventually, it has to be into words for the book. It's not a picture book, it's a word book. Stories, chapters, poetry. And I think the beauty of that is as you're reading someone's entry, someone's chapter, in your mind, you make the pictures. If that's the kind of reader you are. In your mind, you make the pictures. I also think it's different if you read it silently to yourself than if you read it out loud.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And all through that, when you were saying about putting in a box, that stunts growth. So if something's being boxed, if you're being boxed, what you're building cannot grow because you're already confining it. And the way you explain that you bring everything together and then you might decipher certain bits, take certain bits out. That's the way to learn. And that's the way you share with everyone else. And then everyone grows together. And it's all I'm a real believer in the light comes together and the brighter you get. And then with that light, literally, it's like an explosion of joy, of gratitude. Literally, that explosion touches everyone around them and helps share that emotion. Whereas if it's all confined in a box, no one knows about it. It's like you might have this special secret that you don't want to share. But if you shared with someone else, it will make either that problem that's in the box or that secret, it makes it something that everyone can enjoy and share together.
And I appreciate that, Pearl. Some people it's just too much. And I don't mean that. I'm trying to embrace it as not a negative about me. For a while it has been. And now I am trying to embrace my name. You know, I grew up with the name Hope, was not always the easiest at times. And now really trying to embrace the positive and let me live as a person who is hopeful and not necessarily rosy-eyed, everything always is bright and everything always goes well, just to have at the end of the day, if you can have an outlook of hope, I do believe that you can feel that there's a possibility to live.
Oh.
And that is from my classroom. I taught students kindergarten all the way up through college. I taught what we used to call students who are handicapped, students with learning disabilities, English as a second language learners, multilingual learners. And when I see that something that we have engaged with, that aha moment, and as a teacher, you see it, you feel it. I can't explain when it's going to happen, but all of a sudden I look at a student, I was like, there it is. You have had your, and then it's like they are just full steam ahead. It's like the story, I think I can, I think I can. They now know they can. And that to me is the joy, the hope. You're coming through the door of my classroom. There is going to be that moment. I hope that there is going to be that moment where you will know. And sometimes they don't know it. I see it. And I would call a parent and say, get ready. They're coming home. They are now, their blossoming is happening. And it's that would, bring me so much joy. And that is why I stayed in education for 4 decades, because I wasn't giving up on my ability to still cultivate that, and seeing in each student that I met, there is going to come that moment. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes they challenge you, just like a chapter in a book, just like Char will say, I'm going to call you back. Give it another week. You say it was a student. I'm not giving up on you. We're in this. And when it happens, you're like, yes. And it's not I did it. It's a we. Yes, we did it.
Now, I'm going to flip that slightly because I'd say it was Hope that did it. It was you, Hope, and that special person, that special light you have inside.
Thank
That's
you.
what gets the results. Because you've said all these things, but it's you. You are the catalyst that have started these projects, that have cared with these children that maybe they might not get at home, and you have nurtured them throughout. And when you say, and the joy in your voice when you share that, the fact that you said you've called the parents and said they've started to blossom. Now if any teacher had rung me about my children like that, I would have been over the moon. But
Aw.
and it this you we were talking before we started this interview about, you don't necessarily see what impact you've had on the children's lives that you've taught.
Correct.
I'm going to say to you, you have probably impacted every single person that listens to this interview. You will impact their life, and it will be something that people come back to and listen to again and again, because you have shared so many golden nuggets and show you've made my day. You
Oh,
really
thank
have,
you.
by what
Thank
you've
you.
shared. And to bring that, and I go back to certain words and the emotion that it carries with it. Not only have we just heard a word and had dialogue, we felt the emotion that sits behind those words and how it can impact people. And for that, I just say a massive thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and really, I enjoy sharing. I do. I enjoy sharing, and it is much easier for me to do it this way than in writing sometimes. And to have met you, not just a text or not just words. The words mean a lot. We've exchanged words, but now to see each other, it is the beauty of sharing and caring. And I'm so glad that Char has made this happen
It is, I mean, I've
and that
said,
you've made it happen with her. So thank you.
but it is, I mean, every one of these interviews, I've done a big whoop whoop for Shah, because yes, you've probably known Shah longer than I have. We connected on Facebook in 2020, but it's only recently that we saw each other's messages. So now is the time we were due to connect, but for so many different reasons. And when I see the approach everyone takes to the Mission Hope series, and just like where we've learned so much about you and the approach and the emotions behind the person that brings that story to life, that brings that message, it's so, so special. And I've said this on everyone, so I'm going to say it on this interview as well. This whole series, if the people listening now haven't got the series yet, there will always be a link in the description of the episodes where you can buy the series. Make sure you've got them and revisit them every single day, because whatever page you open that book up to, that is going to resonate with you. It might be the same page that opens out because you've opened it that many times. It opens at a set page, but what you read, those words will be different, will impact you differently. And the fact that we're getting to know each and every author and how you approach it, people can immerse themselves in that book. And not only are you seeing words, and like you said, when you read, it's your imagination. And it's literally, you can go back to what you've heard in the interviews, and you'll be able to hear that author's voice, and you can actually hear that sentiment running throughout the chapter. And that is what's so special.
And this opportunity, I have to say, as one of the co-authors, I have I have not met each of the collaborators in person. So when I listen to the interviews and hear their backstory or their contributions, and then go back to read the chapter, it has a different tone to me. I can hear them, or now I know why they said that, or what was going through their mind. I happen to enjoy knowing the backstory. So thank you for letting that happen, Pearl. It's very insightful.
That it's just a pleasure. I love everything about what Mission Hope is, what Char's doing. I love each and every one of the authors. When I get to it, it's like you're sitting, yes, we're thousands of miles away and we're connecting via a screen, yet I feel as if I've known you all my life. And that's the connection of what Char brings together and what this series, what the Mission Hope series does. It just brings just
she and Dominic, with Motivation Champs, the Mission Hope, the Motivation Champs, how they come together and motivate us to participate and leave that little window. If I were to say, no, Char, I really can't, it's just either too, you're not going to get my best. I just really can't. I genuinely believe it's also not a closed door. Like, I can't do this one, but can I come back at another time? Can we reconnect? It's not, I can't shut the door. Well, that's end. That opportunity is gone. I believe both of them leave that opportunity open. And I think as an author, I feel that. As an expressive person, I feel that. And that is what has had me return. I can't do it. And then something, oh, yes, I can. All right, I'm ready. And I called her. Did I miss a deadline? Can I do it? And she said, nope, I held your spot because I just knew you were going to come through. I just felt it. So there is that embrace, that connection, that somehow this has all come together and that we give each other the space and grace of time.
Oh, wow. That is so, so special. I'm going to bring this into future close. I could talk to you all day. I could go on. We wouldn't get any
I
sleep.
know what we can.
But is there?
Thank you.
It is a pleasure. Have you got one lasting message you would like to leave the listeners that you would like to impart about Mission Hope?
So if you would like to see more about Mission Hope from my perspective and how I truly am enveloping it in my life, I would ask that people follow me. The website that evolved from this work is drhopeshub.org. So it's DRHOPE, Dr. Hope, HOPES, sorry, let me do that again. DRHOPESHUB.org, where there I am as an artist, as an author, as a nonprofit, as an educator, bringing this all together. And I think that's what I want people to realize, that when you read these chapters, there's a lot of facets of the people brought into those words. And I truly mean it, as I think you do, Pearl, also. If you reach out to me, I'll get back to you. I'm here cheering everybody else on.
That is so, so special, Hope. So it just leaves me to say a massive, massive thank you to you for being my guest. I'd love you to come back and talk to us about loads of different subjects. So I will put that out there. And
absolutely.
Tis a pleasure. And I'm going to say to each and every listener, you've heard all the wonderful work that Hope does. If you feel you can support the charity she works with and everything, those links she shared will be in the episode description. So go back and please reach out and let's see how you can help everything grow. So thank you so much, Hope. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the content shared. Please share with others who would like to enjoy these interviews and discussions. If you would like to support the podcast, please follow the link in the episode description. If you want to be a guest on the show, reach out and let's discuss next steps. Until the next time, enjoy your listening.